Spurn not the nobly born with love affected, nor treat with virtuous scorn the well connect.
Good afternoon from Mickey and from me from Castle Goring. Well, there has been so much going on that I think we will plunge right in, because there's no need for a preamble, because I'm definitely not going to have enough time today to cover all the ground I would like to cover. So if I may, I will save the more farcical elements for the next time. I was really rather hoping and looking forward to being able to bathe in the sea of farcicality, or is it called Hazzies and Meggies, or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, whatever it's called. But I think we will actually today stick to pretty much more elemental stuff that is not farcical, but in fact is really rather serious and important. So if I may, I will plunge right in with Sherry Davidson's question. Dear Lady C, could you please address Prince William's comments on the Martin Bashir interview? Thank you. Yes, I will be delighted to address Prince William's comments on the Martin Bashir interview. And before doing so, if I may, I will read out Prince William's statement, because it's absolutely relevant. Prince William says, I would like to thank Lord Dyson and his team for the report. It is welcome that the BBC accepts Lord Dyson's findings in full, which are extremely concerning, that BBC employees, and a list of bullet points, lied and used fake documents to obtain the interview with my mother, made lurid and false claims about the royal family, which played on her fears and fueled paranoia, displayed woeful incompetence when investigating complaints and concerns about the programme, and were evasive in their reporting to the media, and covered up what they knew from their internal investigation. It is my view that the deceitful way the interview was obtained substantially influenced what my mother said. The interview was a major contribution to making my parents' relationship worse and has since hurt countless others. It brings indescribable sadness to know that the BBC's failures contributed significantly to her fear, paranoia and isolation that I remember from those final years with her. But what saddens me most is that if the BBC had properly investigated the complaints and concerns first raised in 1995, my mother would have known that she had been deceived. She was failed not just by a rogue reporter, but by leaders at the BBC who looked the other way rather than asking the rough questions. It is my firm view that the Panorama programme holds no legitimacy and should never be aired again. It effectively established a false narrative which, for over a quarter of a century, has been commercialised by the BBC and others. This settled narrative now needs to be addressed by the BBC and anyone else who has written or intends to write about these events. In an era of fake news, public service broadcasting and a free press have never been more important. These findings, identified by investigative journalists, not only let my mother down and my family down, they let the public down too. Well, I think he said it brilliantly. I think he's been very measured in his tone. I think he has been very concise, precise. He is actually so measured that you know that he has kept all personal feeling out of it, yet at every turn you can see how wounded he and the family, and in fact several other people, have been by what was effectively a fraud perpetrated upon the world, first perpetrated upon Diana, her brother Charles, the world as well, by an unscrupulous and disgraceful journalist. Martin Bashir clearly is not going to hang his head in shame. His statement proves that he's not going to be hanging his head in shame. What he did was a total disgrace. Now, Diana and I kissed and made up a few months before this interview. So I can confirm from my own personal observations that the Diana of summer 1995 was a lot less paranoid than the Diana after Martin Bashir unleashed himself on her. When you stop to think that an ambitious, unscrupulous journalist set about to entrap a public figure, irrespective of the damage he did to her mental health, her life, her children, her husband, her family, his family, the institution of the monarchy, you begin to see the enormity of what transpired. But when you consider that Tony Hall, who ended up being the chairman of the BBC, and whose responsibility it was to investigate this matter, discovered that Martin Bashir was lying, what did he do? He lied. He covered up for Martin Bashir. He said that a dishonest journalist was honest when he knew he was not honest. He knew he was totally dishonest and totally unscrupulous. But ambition was what this was all about. It was Martin Bashir's ambition to get himself on the map, to win a lot of awards, to become regarded as a top investigative journalist, which he succeeded in doing. Now, I also know people who know Michael Jackson and who have been saying for years now that Martin Bashir was responsible for the destruction of Michael Jackson's life. Because Michael Jackson, after Diana, he cooperated with Martin Bashir, let's call a spade a spade. The man is a confidence trickster. He gets, through lies, deception, deceit, conniving, manipulating, he gets the confidence of his subject, and then he betrays that subject's confidence by moving them in a direction that they had no intention of going and would never have gone had it not been for Martin Bashir. Diana was somewhat paranoid, even before Martin Bashir, but and everybody knew it, but he played upon her paranoia. He has done what other people have done with other members of her family who are also paranoid and who are known to be paranoid, and unscrupulous people move in, play upon their fears, play upon their hopes, play upon their isolation to isolate them further. It's wicked. Wicked is the only word you can use for it. What Martin Bashir did to Diana was wicked. What he did to Michael Jackson was wicked. Had Martin Bashir not been involved in the lives of Diana and Michael Jackson, who knows, they might both be still alive, because he derailed both their lives in the most awful and dramatic way. Now, Lord Spencer has said that he sees a direct link between Martin Bashir's entanglement with Diana and Diana's death. I'm not sure I would go that far, but I would say that but for Martin Bashir, the consequences of that interview would never have transpired. Her life would have taken a completely different path. However, would she have stopped colluding with the press? The answer is no. She was a fame junkie before Martin Bashir. She remained a fame junkie after Martin Bashir. And what killed Diana, and let's be clear about it, is that she rang up the press. She is the one who told the paparazzi where she was going to be. She had them following her in the car, giving chase. Henri Paul, the chauffeur, would not have known this, but Diana knew it. Henri Paul was honestly trying to get away from pursuers, little realizing that the pursuers were there at the invitation of the pursued. So would this have happened? It might well still have happened. Might Michael Jackson have still died the way he did with that propranolol overdose? He might well have. But it's also possible that neither of them would have died. It's maybe a bit of a stretch to say that the BBC and Martin Bashir have blood on their hands, but not that much of a stretch. I think the whole thing is an absolute disgrace, and when you stop to think that one of the reasons why Diana went along with Martin Bashir was because he represented Panorama, a very respected program. He represented the BBC, regarded at the time as the finest public broadcasting corporation in the world, of absolute integrity, above suspicion. It just goes to show in life it doesn't suit you to actually be too unsuspicious, because it's ironic that very often those who were above suspicion turn out to actually have been the very ones who you should have been suspecting more than anybody else. But anyway, I'm sounding cynical, sorry. But the fact of the matter is, had it not been the BBC, when Charles Spencer and Diana both checked to see if Martin Bashir was someone reputable, honourable and trustworthy, they were assured that he was by the BBC. And then when the BBC knew that he had conned her into an interview with a whole load of forged documents and lies, what did they do? Covered it up. Disgraceful. Next question. Tammy goes, after reading the statements on the Panorama interview from William and Harry, it seems William has eliminated Harry from the equation altogether. We have such a dignified response on the BBC review from William. What is your opinion, Lady C? I think she means of not only my opinion of William's response, but of Harry's statement. So I will read out Harry's statement to those of you who aren't familiar with it. Our mother was an incredible woman who dedicated her life to service. She was resilient, brave, and unquestionably honest. The ripple effects of a culture of exploitation and unethical practices ultimately took her life. To those who have taken some form of accountability, thank you for owning it. This is the first step towards justice and truth. Yet what deeply concerns me is that practices like these, and even worse, are still widespread today. Then and now, it's bigger than one outlet, one network, or one publication. Our mother lost her life because of this, and nothing has changed. By protecting her legacy, we protect everyone and uphold the dignity with which she lived her life. Let's remember who she was and what she stood for. Well, well, what can I say? The contrast is stupendous. On the one thing's hand, you have the elder brother being very measured, very dignified, very royal, dare I say. And on the other hand, you have the hustle of Hollywood creeping in at every point. You have a tone that is so undignified, that is so over the top, that is so excessive, that is so hawking wares. I mean, there really is no hope for Harry. There really is no hope for him. I mean, whoever wrote this statement, and I have a shrewd eye there, I know who helped him to write it, just dire. And a wealth of false assumptions rolled into the bag. So it's a bag of tricks, which this bag of tricks is ultimately meant to let him off the hook, to justify censorship of the press. Remember, earlier this week, we had Harry attacking the First Amendment of the American Constitution. I don't think he was attacking that part of it that goes towards religious freedom or towards the ability to gather together. I think he was attacking the press freedom part of it, the freedom of speech part of it. And to those of you who think he confused it with the Second Amendment, no, he did not. He is an advocate for press censorship. He wants to be free to say what he wants, but anybody who doesn't say what he wants to hear should be silenced. I think, quite frankly, the whole thing is just very regrettable. I think it's a disgrace. And also, if you notice, William speaks about my mother. Harry, who's been busy sharing and is going to be continuing to share all of his distaste for his family, all of a sudden is speaking about our mother. When there's prestige to be gained and mileage to earn through Diana becoming Harry's and William's mother, she is their mother. But at all other times, she's just Harry's mother, and William is excluded from the picture. The crass opportunism, the vulgarity, the complete lack of dignity, the distasteful smell of the souk. Just dreadful. Ruby Martin says, Lady C, can you give us your thoughts on Lord Dyson's report into Martin Bashir and the BBC's conduct over Princess Diana's Panorama interview? Well, this question is slightly different, I'm sure you will notice, from the first one, which really addressed William's input. The Dyson Report is very measured, it's very fair, it's very to the point, and it's what I would have expected from a senior member of the British judiciary. And he is one of the top-ranking or former top-ranking judges in this country. You know, there is no question about it. Martin Bashir committed a series of serious criminal offences, and I would hope that the BBC does not influence the criminal investigation to the extent that Martin Bashir's supposed ill health is going to mean that he escapes criminal charges. I don't care how sick he is. He did it, he profited from it, and he should be charged with the crimes. One of the crimes that he committed and for which he should be charged is uttering a forged document. It is a criminal offence to falsify a document and pretend that it is a genuine document, as he did to Lord Spencer with those forged bank statements. They are forgeries. There is no way that they are reconstitutions or any of those euphemisms that are really meant to deceive us. He deceived Charles Spencer. He deceived Diana. He's trying to deceive us, the public, and he has tried to deceive the police. Well, I'm not buying it, and I don't think anybody else should be buying it either. Another serious criminal offence that he committed as a result of his actions was obtaining a pecuniary advantage by deception. A pecuniary advantage by deception means exactly what it says. You make an amount of money out of deception. Martin Bashir did not do this for the greater good. Martin Bashir did this so that he would achieve greater fame and fortune than he had, and than he was entitled to. Let's remember that. That is a serious criminal offence that people are always going to prison for in this country. And if ever a case cried out for an example to be made of a criminal, it is this case. And I would sincerely hope that he is charged with the crimes that he has committed and has a jury trial and will be found guilty, because normally we have to believe that somebody is innocent until proven guilty, and I think we should wait for him to be found guilty. But I have to say, to me, it would be a miracle if he is found anything but guilty, because the evidence is so clear as to what he has done. The third person in the frame is Tony Hall, a friend of mine who is a former journalist and a writer of a certain age and a certain repute, rang me up and said that in their opinion, and I'm using the plural, not because the individual is non-binary, but because I don't want to indicate who it is, and suggested that Tony Hall should be made to lose his pension. Well, I don't know that he should lose the whole of his pension, but I certainly think he should lose a substantial part of his pension, because Tony Hall would never have become chairman of the BBC, that he had colluded in covering up the way Martin Bashir had deceived the Princess of Wales into giving an interview that did her no good whatsoever, exacerbated her underlying emotional and mental problems in the worst way possible, helped to bring about the end of the marriage in a far more unpleasant way than it would have ended in, because it is absolutely true that Diana most likely would have spoken to someone. It is also true that Diana would have told that version of the facts that she believed to be true prior to meeting Martin Bashir. But once she met Martin Bashir and he told her a parcel of lies, you know, that William was inadvertently spying on her, that Charles was spying on her, that Patrick Jeffson, her poor, innocent, decent, committed, dedicated private secretary, was selling stories about her. I mean, honestly, you couldn't make it up. On and on and on it goes. That she was being spied on, that they were looking to wipe her out. She was already paranoid, I've got to tell you. But this really tipped her over the edge. And William indicates, bless him, that he understood that she was already paranoid. He indicates it in his statement. But it isolated her even further and made her more paranoid. You do not take somebody who is emotionally and mentally vulnerable and play upon their fears the way he did. I mean, she did want a divorce. She wanted to marry Hasnat Khan. Because she wanted to marry Hasnat Khan, and she wanted to remarry, even if it was not to Hasnat Khan, but at the time it was. She believed in love. She wanted love. She said it repeatedly to several people. You know, she was 34 years old when all of this was going on. She was divorced when she was 35, I think, coming up for 36. She died at just after 36. So, you know, she was really young, in that she was just past half the allotted lifespan in the Bible. And, you know, that he could do, I mean, I'm sorry. He needs to be made an example of, and he needs to pay the price. He really does. He really does. Both Martin Bashir and Tony Hall should be penalised for their wrongdoing. It is very serious, and considering that the BBC is a publicly funded national broadcaster, it makes it even more imperative that not only is justice done, but that justice is seen to be done. There has been one cover-up. There must not be another cover-up, nor must there be a whitewash that lets the culprits off without the correct penalties. It's called justice. It's also called making sure that others don't do it. Caroline Snyder says, go to every platform and let everyone know that they can sign your petition and tell all of them where to go, Lady Colin Campbell. Let's get to 1 million and more. Well, may I suggest that all of you who agree with the petition, which I'm going to ask that it be posted again, and that those of you who have signed it, that you disseminate it, because more than ever, with all of this that's going on, and the abuses that have taken place, not only against Diana and rarely her family, but also the abuses that Harry is trying to implement against freedom of speech. Harry has not learnt the lessons. Harry hasn't understood that Diana was a publicity seeker. He pretends that he and Diana and his wife have been victims of the press. The three of them have not been victims of the press. They have been beneficiaries of the press, by and large. Yes, there has been wrongdoing done. There always is when you're in the public eye. Harry ought to know that. I know that. Everybody in the public eye knows that. Why doesn't Harry know it? He should know it. And if he doesn't know it, it's time he was told it. Yes, I think it's a very good idea. I can't disseminate this petition any more widely than I have done. But I would ask all of you who think that Harry should be invited to ask the Queen to put his titles into abeyance, that all of you disseminate it far and wide to everybody. It will then have what Harry loves to call a ripple effect. I also should say at this point that some people seem not to have understood the significance of the petition, the mechanics of the petition, the limits and scope of the petition. So I will explain all of that right now. If Harry asks the Queen to put his royal style, titles and rank into abeyance, no, he doesn't only stop using Duke of Sussex. He stops using Prince Henry. He stops using Royal Highness. He becomes Mr. Henry Windsor or Mr. Henry Mountbatten Windsor. Yes, the sovereign can, at a future date, restore the titles, rank, style to him. They're not being removed permanently. Abeyance does not mean permanent removal. It means suspension. They will be suspended. I think with all that's going on, all that has gone on, all that is continuing to go on, that this is a very positive way of drawing a line in the sand and let us see what happens. But Caroline Snyder, you're right. We need a lot of signatures. It needs to be the voice of the people. Vox populis. That's what it needs to be. The voice of the people. Harry needs to be freed of the tremendous shackles that have caused him such pain, his royal position. He needs to be liberated. It's doing him a favour, it's doing everyone else a favour as well. Every now and then in life, you have the wonderful situation where everything converges perfectly, and pro and contra all have the same desirable outcome. And this is one of those instances. So, if you have enjoyed this, may I ask you to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions coming in the comment section. And I will, in the next video, be addressing some of what I was not able to do in this video. Time being of the essence. Thanks and goodbye.